Hey everyone, welcome back to the Living in Maryland channel where we discuss all things living here in the great state of Maryland. And today we are discussing what it's like living here in Maryland during winter. So last week, everyone in Maryland was all excited because we got roughly about a foot of snow between two different days of snowfall. So got about roughly 4 to 6 inches 2 days last week. So roughly about a foot total. And we did not get any snow last year. So everyone was really excited. Everybody was posting about it on social media. They actually got 3 days off of school. We're in Howard County. I know the surrounding counties were pretty much all the same. So everyone was super excited about that, and just thought I'd share a little bit about what it's like living here in Maryland when it comes to snow. So a couple things is Maryland is really, really good about getting out, salting the roads before the snow even comes. So a lot of people, I will say in my experience, they tend to kind of stay in if they can. They don't want to go to work. They don't want to be driving too much when it's snowing out there. But the roads, I'm usually out and about, during the snow, and I was this past week as well. And the roads are pretty good, and not a lot of people are out there, which is nice. So there's less cars out there, but Maryland is really, really good about getting out there and making sure that the roads are safe for us. We had a cabin a few years back in West Virginia. And it was all like when it snowed over there, I didn't want to be on those roads at all, just because it was just so much harder for them to get out and make sure that they were done ahead of time. So Maryland is really, really good about that. And again, that's something that they do really well. Now, the crazy thing about the snow that we had last week is that it pretty much stayed cold for almost a full week. So the snow stayed around for roughly 5 to 6 days. Now it's starting to melt because just last week we had all that snow. Now tomorrow is going to be roughly 60 degrees, and the next day after that's going to be almost 70 degrees here in the end of January. So the funny thing about Maryland winter and the Maryland weather in general, no matter what season you're in, is that it is just all over the place. You never know what it's doing. You never know what exactly what's coming. So I will say in Maryland for winter season, we're always going to get some cold weather for sure. Snow the last few years has been a little unpredictable. It's been a little hit and miss. But with last year not getting any snow at all, this year everyone seems to just be a little excited for those snow days to get out and have fun and kind of play around and do their snow play and have a little bit of time off school. Although most schools don't really batch in many snow days anymore, so they're just going to have to make those days up at the end of the year. But most people seem to be fine with that, especially at the current time. So anyways, just a couple things to share with you about our most recent snowfall here. Now, typically here in Central Maryland, it does not usually stay cold as long as it did last week. We had about a week where it really didn't exceed 32. The high was about 32 all week, and most of the nights were dropping into low to mid-teens. That was about the average last week. So that snow hung around for almost a full week. But more times than not, in my experience here in Central Maryland, is you will get, anywhere from a few inches on, your typical snowstorm, but then within a couple days, it's up to 45, 50 degrees, and that snow just does not last. So, you're going to get it all here in Maryland. You're definitely going to get that feel of winter, but more times than not, that snow is not going to be hanging around very long. Now, when it comes to snow days within schools here in Maryland, they tend to be very conservative. Now, more times than not, when we get a snow day here, a lot of times it's caused by ice, it's caused by freezing rain, more so than 6 inches of snow on the ground. So you're going to see school probably delayed and canceled for both. But because Maryland tends to be pretty mild when it comes to snow and overall winter, a lot of times we've seen those cancellations the last several years because of that freezing rain, or maybe it's raining the night before, and then as we approach 6, 7 a.m., it's kind of dropping down to freezing temperatures, and you kind of start getting a little bit of that ice on the roads, and the schools just don't mess with that. So you're going to see schools definitely canceled most years for some sort of precipitation, freezing rain, snow, and you're going to see it all here in Central Maryland when it comes to that. All right, and then last thing I want to mention here within Central Maryland is that when it comes to heat source within most homes, you're going to see a variation of things. You're going to see some of the older homes still on oil, type of baseboard heat or an oil-based furnace. And then you're going to see a lot of gas furnaces, and you're going to see a lot of heat pumps here in Central Maryland too. So within your typical housing, community housing development, you're going to see roughly 50% of homes with a natural gas furnace, which is ideally the way to go when it's really cold out there. And then you're going to see 50% roughly on heat pumps, which means it's all electric and it's using the outdoor condenser year round, and they just don't burn as hot, those heat pumps, because it's all electric. That heat source doesn't burn as hot. The air is not coming out as hot from the vents. So when it drops below 32, the heat pumps tend to struggle a little bit. They're gonna work, they're gonna do their job, but it's gonna be a little colder. I've got one, I can speak from experience. It's a little bit of a drier heat, and it's a little bit of a heat source that just tends to struggle when you get below freezing temperatures, below 32 out there. So just a heads up, if you're coming from outside of Maryland, or if you're used to a different style of heat, that's something to maybe look into or just be aware of. I mean, it's not a huge deal, but it's something when it comes to winter that can be noticeable depending on what type of system you have and depending on how warm you want to stay within your house. All right, everyone, thanks so much for joining us in this video. If you ever have any real estate questions, if you are thinking about buying or selling a home here in Maryland, we would absolutely love to have a conversation with you and see how we can best assist, and we will see you at the next video.